Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unlocking Tampa Bay. I'm your host, Brian Burns, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Molly Barbieri.
Hello.
And we are super excited to have in the studio today a very unique story, a very Tampa-centric story. We have Kalin Profitt. Kalin, thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Kalin's claim to fame is that he's ridden Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens 10,000 times. And you just recently hit that milestone, right?
Yes. On January 14th, I hit that.
Okay. So 10,000 times. And that's in, what, 2 years you were telling us before we got started here?
I looked at over everything, and my first ride was February 9th of 2022. And when I hit it on January 14th, I looked at that, and that was 2 years, 11 months, and 14 days.
Wow.
That 10,000. But I mean, like, that was all, what I love about that is that was all on my own terms. I didn't feel pressured to go and do that. I really loved the ride, and I have had a great time doing it the whole way there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So first off, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Quite an
Yeah,
accomplishment.
really cool.
10,000 times. That's a huge milestone. And I know, like, in the kind of the roller coaster community, is that kind of like that number that like you kind of aspire to get to?
Some people might say that, and I mean, 10,000 is it's kind of like an eye catching number. When you hear 10,000, you're like, oh wow, that's a lot.
Well, it caught our attention.
But oh yeah. But also, it's kind of like, as I was doing that, and because I mean, the entire time I was keeping track, and that was the goal. Because I'm still counting right now. Right now, I'm at 10,125. Like, that's where I'm at.
That's the actual number.
That's the actual number that I'm at right now. So like, it's not like I hit 10,000 and I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
but no, it was funny because when I started riding, I love at Busch Gardens Tampa, they offer a annual quick queue. So it's a quick queue that you can get, but it's an annual one. It's not like a one-day thing. It's one that you get, you buy it, and then the day that you buy it or the day that you first use it, it's good for 365 days, a year from when you actually start using it for the first time. But it works so well, and the nice thing about it is that it always works on every ride there, even if the ride is new. So going into Gwazi, that was a nice thing to be able to basically be able to go through the quick queue every single time, and that is one of the things that helps me and get on so many times, because if you're having to wait in like an hour or even like a 30-minute line every single time, you just won't hit those numbers at all. So that right there has definitely helped expedite those numbers up. The most I've done on Gwazi in one day was 110. But there would be
110 in one day?
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
From 10 a.m. until 1 a.m. That's just riding like not.
So you just get off and go right back in line.
Yeah,
and you're doing that over and over again all day.
And for me, like, obviously, if I have to use the bathroom, I'll go and use the bathroom. And then the only other thing would be, like, maybe if I was thirsty, I would go and grab like a quick drink of water and then get back on.
When do you eat?
Those days I wouldn't eat. I would just wait until after.
Kalin.
but I mean, like, I would feel fine as I was doing it. I wouldn't feel like ill or anything.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask that. A lot of people are like, well, don't you ever get sick? And
that's one of my questions right here. Do you ever get sick or nauseous?
No. And I guess one of the ways to, like, I don't know if this is the right way to say it or the right way to put it, but it's kind of like, it just doesn't affect me like that, in the same way that if let's say hypothetically, if I was allergic to peanut butter and I were to ask you, if you were eating like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, if I were to ask you, oh, don't you get sick? But for you, it doesn't affect you like that. So, but that's one of the things that you learn. Some people do get motion sickness, and some people can't handle doing a ride, multiple times, let alone sometimes just once. Like, it's just too much for them. But everyone's different. But like, for me, I don't know. I like it. I like that continuous motion of back to back to back riding. There's something about it that, I don't know, I get a lot of fulfillment and joy out of.
Do you think it's the adrenaline? Like, do you enjoy the adrenaline rush of it?
It could be that, but then again, there's and you're right. Like, that is a great thing, and I love that. I really love the intensity of the ride. I like and the pacing. But I think what is it? There are many times where I ride and sometimes I'll wear a watch and it'll detect your heart rate.
Yeah.
and sometimes my heart rate will be like 80, like beats
That's
per minute,
it?
which is like
Wow.
fairly normal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that I ride with who get off and they're like, oh my god, I'm at 160 or something, which is like, that's like the normal thing. That's how most people are. But I don't know. I think it's more of like it is like, there's many times where it could be like an adrenaline filled thing, but then there's other times where it's more cathartic, and
Right.
it's just kind of like
Okay.
calming or relaxing, just over and over and over again. I don't know. You kind of see the marvel that the ride is, in my opinion, and it's like, wow, like I'm really here riding this. There was that period of time for 2 years where that ride was supposed to open and then it didn't. So there's all of this like built up like anticipation where I would go to the park. Like I would go to Busch Gardens sometimes during that time period, and I wouldn't ride anything. I would just go and like look at I would look at like the ride, and maybe if I got wind,
as it was being built, Iron Gwazi.
yeah, as it was being
watching
built.
it, yeah.
But sometimes as it was standing but not operating, in those like in 2020, like when the park opened back up,
Yeah.
2021, and like going into like early 2022, I would just go and like if I heard about maybe the idea of, oh, maybe they're gonna cycle it today, I would just sit there and wait and wait just to watch it like cycle.
It hasn't lost its luster for you then. Like after
No.
10,000 rides, like it still is fun right now and ride.
Yeah,
What you
yeah.
said, you were at 10,125 or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
It hasn't,
Kinda
like ride 10,126 is still going to be as exciting as
Yeah.
ride one for you.
Yeah. I told someone recently where I was kind of like, because Christmas wasn't that long ago, and you kind of think back to when you were a kid. I mean, even for some people now, like on Christmas Eve, you get really excited and really eager. You're like, oh man, I can't wait to wake up in the morning
Yeah.
for that. I still kind of feel like that. Like whenever I'm going to bed, like getting ready to get up in the morning to go to Busch, like I still feel like that even after all this time.
I feel kind of bad, like we're taking you away from Busch Gardens right now.
I'm glad to be here, but it's so funny. Like as soon as I leave here, I'm gonna change and go to
And you're going right to Busch Gardens?
After this?
I've got the day off, so I'm gonna go there. They're only open until 6 today, so I'll go in for whatever
How many
time
will
I
you get
there.
in today, do you think?
Ooh.
How many rides?
So whenever, that's a very valid question to ask, but I always go into it thinking, I could walk in and they could be like, oh, the ride shut down today. It doesn't happen often, but
Right.
you never
It's
really
a
know.
possibility.
But okay, so hypothetically, given what I know and how things typically go, if I get there, I don't know, what time is it right now? Is it after 10?
It's like 10:30, 11.
Okay, so let's say I get there at 12. Let's
Yeah.
say that's the time that I get there, and I'm riding from 12 until 6. The other day I went and I got there around 12, maybe a little after 12, but then I left at 2:30, and I did 14 rides in that time.
Okay.
And it's pretty
Right.
slow now because school's back in session and it's a Thursday. Most people are at work or at school. So I feel like, man, from 12 until 6, that could be anywhere between 20 and 30 rides.
Yeah,
probably.
but you don't have like
Yeah.
a set number, like I got to go in and get 30 rides today.
No,
You're just
no.
like, I have
Yeah.
this window of time,
Yeah,
and this is
yeah.
how
I'm just
I can get in as many rides as I want.
I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna do like what I can with the time that I have here.
Now, have you ridden Iron Gwazi every day from when you first rode it, when it first opened until now? Like, has there been a day where you haven't ridden Iron Gwazi?
Yeah. There's been some. I think the longest, like, I can never really say like a break, because it's not like I need a break from it or I want a break from
Right.
it. But
Right.
sometimes you have other circumstances. You have stuff that you do at home, or maybe you go on vacation. Like I was saying, there's been times, or you brought this up earlier, King's Dominion.
Yeah.
There's been times where I've gone with friends or with my girlfriend to another park somewhere, or like on a trip or something like that. And then you obviously when you're away, you're not there. So I mean, but it still is funny, even when I'm like at King's Dominion, or if I'm visiting a new park for the first time. As soon as I get there, I'm like, oh man, I wish I was back at Busch
I
Gardens.
wish I was on Iron Gwazi. Have you found another ride somewhere else that can compare as maybe as good as Iron Gwazi?
There are other rides that are great, and in different ways, but I would say overall, like, so there are some people out there who have a big amount of rides on, let's say, a specific ride out there. But then for them, they have that because that's their home park.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but my favorite ride is elsewhere. It's at a different park somewhere. But for me, I feel very lucky and very fortunate that this ride that I love so much is here at Busch Gardens Tampa, a place that I,
grew up with.
I grew up with it. And a lot of people look at me and they think, oh, Gwazi, which I mean is true because I love it, but also I mean like I'll never discredit what Busch Gardens is and what it means to me. I think Busch Gardens is so great. I don't want to be anywhere else. I always want to be there.
And so, why Iron Gwazi? Like, why not Chikra or Cheetah Hunt? Why specifically Iron Gwazi? Is that the one for you?
So, well, I mean, for me, ultimately, the reason why I ride it so much like that is just because I think the ride is like perfect. I love the pacing on it. The ride starts strong, it finishes very strong. It's got a lot of versatile uh moments of intensity to it.
Yeah.
Like it could have some strong positive G's on it. It could have some strong negatives. It has good laterals, like good air time. But I think the reason why I went into going into counting that, I mean, first and foremost, yeah, I love it. Like all those things I just described. But it makes sense to go and do that and keep track of something that I love. Also, given I had a good starting point for it. Whereas like some of these other rides, like basically every other ride at Busch Gardens that opened prior to Gwazi, I've been riding, most of my life. And I never kept track of those. I was riding Scorpion, Gwazi, original Gwazi, Montu, Kumba, Python when it was there, Shikra. Well, Shikra, I was in 4th grade when that opened.
Yeah.
But then the other ones, I was in like 1st and 2nd grade when I was riding for the first time. And I wasn't keeping track back then.
Right.
But yeah, when Gwazi opened, I was like, I'm going to be someone who's going to keep track of this from the start. I'm going to hit the ground running with it so that I can have a definitive number that is like verifiable by people who work there as well. Like you can ask anyone who worked there at the time, like, did you know this guy who rode all the time? They're like, oh yeah, I knew. and that's the thing. Like you go and you stay consistent with it, and you kind of see. You can see, okay, is there anyone else who rides this as much as me? And for the most part, no one's there as consistently much as I am, or someone who has a quick queue like me, or someone who, because a lot of times, even though I have the quick queue, I also go as a single rider. I go by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm able to just go and like get back in line and hop on. Or if I'm in line, if there's like a couple groups in front of me, if there's someone who's a single rider who's like about to get on, usually I can just hop right in with them. I'm just taking the empty seat. Yeah.
Sometimes that's the way to go.
Yeah, it allows you kind of to build up the number of times you do it, because you go as a single rider and you kind of fill in those gaps on the ride where there might be an empty seat.
But yeah, that is one of the major. Obviously, the fact that I love it is the main reason why I go and I ride so much. But then it was a good starting point to go at a ride that really no one else had been on, or no one else had a massive amount of rides on.
Okay, so how do you keep track of how many times that you ride Iron Gwazi?
So, as I said, that was the goal the entire time. You kind of go into it with this.
You're going to go in and keep track.
Keep track. But something that really helps is, so there's 2 apps that I use. There's one that's like a simple tally counter, and you just download this, and then when I ride, I have zipper pockets that I keep. So then whenever we go into main break and we stop and we're like waiting to go back in and get off, I'll take out my phone and like go do this, and I'll hit that, and that'll be like, okay, that's one ride.
Yeah.
And then I also, my full bank of stuff is in an app called Log Ride. And then that has like all these, it's a database of all these different parks. And then each park you go to has all of the different rides at each respective park. So then I'll put that one ride for the day, and then I'll also go. So like the next time that I ride,
there it is.
I'll hit 1,
1, 2, 5.
and then that next ride when I go into main break, I'll just hit that, and then it'll be 10, 126.
Yeah.
And then I do that every single time that I'm either in main break or in transfer. Which main break is the first like final break run. Transfer is usually what you go into when you're waiting for the other train in the station to get ready and like dispatch.
Okay.
So you typically have like a couple moments or minutes to go and put all that in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific spot on the ride that you like to sit in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I in general on all 3 trains, I kind of prefer the back left. So that would be row 12 left side.
The very back?
Yeah. And I think some people, even myself, when I first started riding, I was like, there can't be that much of a difference in the right and the left side. They're only like 2 feet apart from one another.
Yeah.
But as you ride it more and more and more,
well, if there's anybody that's going to know, I think you're the expert.
There's just the banking and the profiling on the track, I feel like provides for, in my opinion, a more aggressive ride on the left side of the train.
Yeah.
So when you go through some elements, you're kind of, when you're on the left side, you're at the top of the element. So the element is really the train going through that element is trying to like, I mean, like for me, I like this. You get like thrown out, like you just feel that sensation of of coming up out of your seat, or you know, your back stretching a little bit. I don't know. I really enjoy that a lot.
Do you feel like that's the best place for the drop? Because especially on Iron Gwazi, there's a 91-degree drop, so you're not even going straight down. You're even going like a little bit more.
The drop, I would say that whether or not, I mean, you could be on the right or the left side, but preferably in the back, because you have the weight of the front of the train going down and pulling the back over. So that sensation of coming out, you know, going over that at a higher rate of speed. Whereas if you're in the front, you're kind of gradually going into that drop. So the back is definitely better. But I also, me being like so nerdy about it, it's like, this doesn't even matter, but it is kind of funny when you're in the left side, when you bottom out. Busch Gardens dug a pit to get Gwazi at that full the drop, to get it to be a full 206 foot. So you have a 206 foot height, and then the drop bottoms out at 206 feet. But it slightly banks to the left. And like I said, for most people, this doesn't even matter. But for me, I'm kind of like, when you're on the left side, you're like that much lower to the ground than you would if you're on the right. And I don't know. For me, I think that's cool.
It's the little things.
Yeah, it's the little things.
So have you ever gone to the park and you're like, you know, I'm going to go ride Iron Gwazi, and then you get there and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do Iron Gwazi today. I'm going to go ride Shikra. Like, do you ever have
Cheetah hunt.
Yeah, like you're just like, maybe not Iron Gwazi today.
I always go, and as long as Gwazi's open, I will go and ride it. But typically what I'll do is I'll try and I'll make it a point to get on that first and do that a couple of times. And then for the most part, if I'm with someone or if I do have friends who are there, usually how that goes is I'll go by myself and ride, unless I go with friends. But sometimes I'll run into some people, and it's like, if I run into the right people, then we'll make our way from Gwazi and go around the park, do a lap.
Yeah.
And do other stuff. I mean, like, another thing that I like to do at the park is they have 2 really great bars there. That's another fun thing to do.
Yeah.
What if you had to pick a second ride, like a second favorite ride at Busch Gardens, what would it be?
Kumba.
Kumba?
Kumba is great.
Okay.
It's so good.
Do you know how many times you've ridden Kumba?
No, but I mean, like, it's probably somewhere there in the
Would
hundreds.
it be close to it wouldn't be 10,000.
No. To get like those thousands of rides, you would know yourself, or like because sometimes, I mean, like, yeah, like it takes consistency, but yeah, like getting like 1,000 rides or doing like that many, you've got to be doing it like a good amount.
Yeah.
A good amount. I mean, there's been a couple of times where I've done Kumba like 60 to maybe like 66 times in a day.
Yeah.
And I've like actively kept count. But Kumba's good, and also not so much a roller coaster, but I love the sky ride. They brought back the sky ride, and I mean, I liked it when I was younger, but
didn't you just do the sky ride a couple days ago?
Yeah, but I mean, like, as of right now, Kumba's closed. So if Gwazi's not open, or if I just if I ride it and I want to do something else, I'll go and do the sky ride before I do anything else.
It's honestly really relaxing.
Yeah,
just to also see everything right over the park.
Yeah,
you just kind of glide right over. It's really chill.
A little tamer than
yes.
It's
my pace.
If you go with friends, it's fun just to have a time to talk and hang out. But then if you go by yourself, it's very peaceful. You don't really hear much of it. You hear some ambient, like some background noise, but you kind of have like some time to like.
My favorite thing to see when I'm on the sky ride is the Serengeti flyer, because I feel like, is it the Serengeti?
Yeah, Serengeti flyer.
Yeah, you can just see how fast
and you're pretty close to it too.
Yeah, it's so crazy to see how like high it goes. I was like, oh, that's intense.
Does Busch Gardens give you a heads up if Iron Gwazi is down for the day and they're like working on it?
Yeah,
they'll call you, be like,
contacts?
Kalin, it's down, so either don't come or just realize you have to ride something else today.
What's actually really nice is there are some ambassadors there who, like, if there's something like major going on, they'll usually text me, just because they're also kind of like interested in, or kind of like in the coaster community. So they'll be like, oh, this happened at Gwazi's Day, and it's never anything bad or major, but they'll be like, oh, like, it's probably likely not going to open. Or there's the other side of it where, let's say there's something going on and it's down for maybe a day or two. There was one person recently who was like, it kind of like caught me off guard, but they messaged me like pretty early in the morning, and they were like, "Hey, just a heads up, it will be open today." Like it had been closed for the past couple of days, so I was like, "Oh yes."
So you got the insider tip.
Yeah. So it was for me. It's always worth it to go to Busch and to see, like, even if it seems likely that it won't be open, I'll still come. Like if I have the time, I'll come and I'll go, like, just to go and see. But for someone to like step out and kind of be like, "Hey, heads up, like it's gonna be open," that's always nice to know that. So that someone knows I care about it that much.
Right, absolutely. I'm sure they know how much you care about it, so they want to give you the heads
they're right
up.
up, see me all the time.
Right. Now, we had heard that you actually like took a job around Busch Gardens so that you could like on breaks or like even before or after work, you could go slip over and do more rides on Iron Gwazi. Is that true?
That is so funny you say that. And I like growing up in Tampa, basically. My father has always worked in Tampa. I went to USF, and I've always grown up going to Busch Gardens from like an infant, like like really, really young. I've been very fortunate that my family, my parents provided me with a life when I was a kid where going to Busch Gardens was a normal thing.
Right.
That was not out of the ordinary. I grew up like seeing elephants and giraffes. That was like it's funny. You grow up doing that, and it's always cool to see. Like you always love it, but then it's funny to see some people go there for the first time as adults, and they're like, "Oh my god, giraffes!" And it's still cool.
It is
but
really cool.
but it's like, oh, that's Florida, but it's really not Florida. It's just Busch Gardens.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? Oh, I went to USF, and after I graduated, I applied for a number of different jobs, and Yuengling was the first place that got back with me. Yuengling Brewing, the beer company, and I started out there, and that job and the schedule that I have, I love it. It's a great job, and I mean, like, obviously, I'd started there in 2017, and Gwazi didn't open until 2022, but I do have a great job there with a good schedule.
Yeah. So you didn't specifically get the job to go to Busch Gardens. It just happened that you got a job around Busch Gardens, and it's allowed you this opportunity to ride Iron Gwazi.
It just happens to be there. Like the schedule is a big component in that. I mean, we just work on a production schedule, and if we have an order for the week, when that order gets done, if that gets done on Thursday, then we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to do whatever. If it gets done on Wednesday, we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that right there always helps and works out. And another thing is that they have a day shift and a night shift. I voluntarily work on the night shift just because that just works better for me. It's from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Okay.
But that kind of makes it to where, regardless of the day, whether I work or not, I can
ride
still get up and go, because Busch typically opens at 10, sometimes 9, but mostly at 10.
Yeah.
So I can get up and go to Busch from 10 until like 2:30, and I work right there. So I can leave the park at 2:30, and then head to work, and then be at work on time, like before.
Nice.
Where I'm supposed to start. So
shout out to
really
Yuengling
great.
for letting
it was great.
Working with the schedule so you can get on Iron Gwazi. Yeah, great beer too.
And Tampa, it's based out of Pottsville, Pennsylvania, but Tampa is our biggest volume. We do the biggest volume here in Tampa. So.
Absolutely. Molly, you have any other questions?
I don't think so. Not at the moment.
Honestly, we could go on and on.
I feel like I could talk about this for hours.
It's such an interesting story. Obviously, we don't want to keep you too long.
No.
Do you have work today? No, you have the day off.
I've got the rest of the weekend off.
Okay, nice.
Or actually, they gave us so Yuengling is based in Pennsylvania, and in Pennsylvania they're big Eagles fans,
right.
So they're giving us Monday off. So I actually will have to go back to work until Tuesday.
Nice, wow,
yeah, which is nice.
So you got a full weekend of
So
Gwazi rides.
I think that number is going to be up to around like 11,000 by the time the weekend's over, maybe.
Well, it is fun. So I won't reach that, but one of the things that I've learned over time is it's pretty easy being a single rider and having that quick queue to do like 100 rides in a week, like a 7-day period. So from like Monday to Sunday, it's not that, it's pretty reasonable to do 100 rides. That, and to break that down for like, if like, because some people still think, oh, that's a lot. Some people think like 10 rides in a day is a lot. But it's like to be under those circumstances. If you do 14 rides a day for 6 days and then one day do 16, that's 100 rides. Or you could do 15 rides a day for 6 days and then one day 10 rides. That's 100. So that for me is like just a couple hours each day, which is not bad.
Wow. Do you have a record for how many times you've ridden it in one day?
Yeah, 110.
110 is your record,
and that was that was from 10 a.m. to 1.
Oh, okay.
That was just nonstop, just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Taking as many seats
10 a.m.
as I
to
could
1
get.
a.m. Right?
Yeah.
Why was it open till 1 a.m.?
For Hollow Scream. That was
Hollow
for
Scream. It was
yes.
open till 1 a.m. Oh, wow.
Because they extend the park hours for that.
The really cool thing about that too is that if you have a unlimited pass for Hollow Scream, all you have to do is while you're there in the park, like I would have to leave Gwazi for a second, but I would kind of like run to the front, show them my unlimited pass. I would get a wristband, and then I could just go back in, and then I don't have to exit the park to re-enter for Hollow Scream or anything.
Right.
I could just stay in there and keep riding. And then obviously there were some times where I would go and like, especially if it was busier, when it gets busier, sometimes like quick queue gets busier.
Yeah.
So then I'll be like, okay, I've already gotten this many rides. How about this time me and my friends or my girlfriend will go and enjoy Hollow Scream. It won't just be me like Gwazi. We'll actually go and enjoy something with it, which is always fun to do.
That day you got 110. Did you go in that day with the goal of like, I'm going to set my personal record for most rides in a day, or it just kind of happened organically?
That's another thing where it's like, I felt like I was at the mercy of the operators and then just the nature of the ride and what happens with it. Because sometimes the first couple times that I was going and doing like a 10 a.m. until 12 or 10 to 1, there'd be times where it would go down for something, or maybe there'd be like a weather delay. And those things all like stack up against you to some extent. And it's never bad. I'm never like mad or angry about it. It's just part of the experience. It's just a part of it. So sometimes you're like, oh, darn,
just a little disappointed, but it'll still be there.
Yeah. It's fine. But no, there plenty. There are days like that where you go and it's just nonstop.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
It's all love.
It's all love.
It is. It really is.
I was gonna say, I think you mentioned earlier. Did you say something about like Space Mountain? Did you say that maybe you?
I cried on Space Mountain. I am not a roller coaster person. I really wish I liked roller coasters. I don't. I like those simulation rides where it kind of like takes you through
like
and tells you a
Spider-Man.
story. Like I love those types of rides.
Well, the only reason
roller coasters are not my thing, like not my forte. I don't like the drop. I don't like the speed. It gives me a little bit of anxiety. So
the only thing I'll say about that is Space Mountain, it's been years since I've been on that, but that ride can be kind of scary to me because there's a lot of like, I'm taller and there's a lot of like low clearance parts in there.
Yes.
It's pretty dark, but that ride for me,
find yourself ducking.
Even though there's all these much bigger coasters that I'll do, rides like that, I mean, that one's kind of like a niche thing, but rides like that with low clearance with like head choppers or hand choppers, that will like scare me a little bit.
Because also your torso isn't as contained as other rides, so I feel very flimsy and like I feel very floppy, and I don't like that. I don't like that. I want to feel secure.
So it's scaring you. That's very normal, at least for me.
Okay, I feel valid.
Yeah, this is a fascinating story. I apprate you coming in and sitting down with us and telling us a little bit about it. And I guess we'll have to have you on when maybe you hit 20,000. That'll be. Will that be in a year? Maybe 2 years. Probably, it took you 2 years to get to 10,000, so maybe 2 years, and we'll have you back on for 20,000.
It also is funny. It's like the more I do it, the more I learn. Like, all right, what's a faster way to get more rides, or what's a better strategy to go and do that? And then you just kind of realize, all right, if I'm gonna go for something, I might as well, it's always worth it to go and get rides, whether it's busy or not. But sometimes it's like, all right, let me try and plan to make myself available to go when it's slower. You know what I mean? Instead of make that choice to do it like during the summer months or something like that.
You're trying to be more strategic about how you're getting there and what you're doing when you get there.
I feel like you could have a really lucrative job being like an insider for Busch Gardens. Like someone pays you, you're like, how can I maximize my visit to Busch Gardens to hit every single thing I want to do? I feel like you would be the best source for that. It could make a pretty lucrative living doing that.
A special Busch Gardens travel agent type of deal.
Because I mean, like we've been talking about Gwazi, which I love, but still, there's so much to do at Busch.
I mean, they have 10 roller coasters. That's a lot, you know, especially for that type of park.
And 2 bars.
Yes, and 2 bars.
And 2 bars. So you can have a couple drinks and then go on Iron Gwazi.
They got animal experiences. They got bars. They got roller coasters. They got everything.
It's a great time all around. Well, thank you, Kalin, so much for joining us.
Thank you guys
this has
so
been,
much.
Like very informative. Like
I've learned a lot.
When we heard your story, we were like, we really want to bring this guy in and just kind of find out like what motivates him to do this. So we were really excited to have you in, and it's kind of exceeded our expectations.
Yes, definitely.
It's good. I'm glad that I get to do what I love and love what I do every day. It's very, very fortunate for that. That's like
Good
the
mindset.
that's like the big takeaway. If you love something, do it, even if nobody else wants to do it with you.
Right.
That's I think that's pretty important.
And clearly this is something that you love to do, and you've worked it your life to get it to where you can do this thing all the time.
So sometimes it is funny when I'm there, and like today or even yesterday, you go in and it's not that busy because there's people in school or people at work. And I remember telling someone one time before, I was like, man, I graduated school for this. I can be here now. I can be here now during the day when everyone else is in school because I've already gone through it. I've been there, done that. Now I don't have to worry about being in school anymore.
Talk about a story for the family Christmas party.
All right, well, let's go ahead and book it. 2 years from now, when you hit 20,000, we'll go ahead and put you on the schedule. We'll have you back on the podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Y'all are the best.
Absolutely. That's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us as we unlock the best of Tampa Bay. Until next time.